Okay, today, June 28, 1776, 249 years ago, the British were defeated at Fort Sullivan. And we are here today to commemorate that anniversary. We're going to give some history on Carolina Day. Then we're going to walk down the Harbor Walk with various flags, the Palmetto flag, and we're going down to Rainey Park where we will view the Charters of Freedom and go over the preamble and then stand for a group picture behind the cannon. Early in 1776, the British planned their strategy on the colony of South Carolina. They thought they would go into Charleston Harbor. Charleston was the wealthiest town in the colonies and the fourth largest city. And they started assembling a fleet to go down the coast and go into Charleston Harbor. In June 1776, they brought in 9 heavily armed ships which had a total of 270 cannons and 3,000 sailors and soldiers, and they stayed just off the harbor of Charleston. Sensing the danger, the Patriots started building a fortification on Sullivan's Island. 2 parallel rows of palmetto logs with sand in between. The palmettos were readily available and so was the sand, so they used what they had to build this fortification. By late June, the fortification was half finished with only 31 cannons and would be defended by a little over 1,000 men, many of whom had never been tested in battle. Soldiers from North and South Carolina, free and enslaved blacks, and Native Americans. General Charles Lee of the Continental Army urged General William Moultrie the fort was sure to become a slaughter pen and to go ahead and abandon the fortification. On the night of General Moultrie, commander of the fort, responded that he had rather cut off his hand than abandon the fort. On the night before June 28th, British soldiers landed on present-day Isle of Palms. They were going to attack the fort from the rear. The British fleet started into Charleston Harbor early in the morning, June 28th, and because of a changing tide, 3 of their ships got caught on a sandbar, making them easy targets for the Patriots. Knowing they were short of ammunition, General Moultrie ordered his men to conserve their powder and aim carefully. At least 70 shots struck the British flagship and splintered its mast. A fragment struck Sir Peter Parker, injuring his leg and ripping off his breeches, an occasion that was heavily ridiculed and used in reports of the day. Early in the fight, a British cannonball snapped the staff holding Moultrie's battle flag. Sharon, hold up your flag. This is what Moultrie's battle flag looked like. Some people say it had Liberty, some people say it just had the crescent, but that's what it looked like at that time. Spectators watching the battle from the battery in Charleston assumed the fort had faltered and Moultrie had surrendered. A German immigrant, Sergeant William Jasper, quickly retrieved the flag, tied it to a cannon's ramrod, and held it atop the ramparts under heavy fire until a new staff was securely affixed, and his men rallied at that point. Another fort defender, Sergeant James McDaniel, was mortally wounded that day, yet inspired his fellow soldiers with dying words. "Fight on, my boys, don't let liberty die with me today." McDaniel was among the 20 Patriots killed that day, while the British lost over 200. When news of Moultrie's victory reached the Continental Congress in Philadelphia, it bolstered the delegates' confidence to move forward with proclaiming the Declaration of Independence. And as we like to say, had there not been a June 28th here in South Carolina, there may not have been a July 4th in Philadelphia. Thankfully, our present City Council members, they issued a proclamation proclaiming June 28th as Carolina Day. Our mayor, if you would be so kind and read that proclamation, please, ma'am.
Whereas on June 28, 1776, the British Navy set its sights on taking Charleston by force, and whereas its 9 heavily armed ships gathered near the mouth of the harbor, while it also landed forces on the Isle of Palms with plans to attack a partially completed palmetto log fort on Sullivan's Island, and whereas a force of Carolina Patriots, which included both free and enslaved blacks and Native Americans under the command of Colonel William Moultrie, And whereas this Patriot force was able to repulse the attack, keeping the fourth largest and wealthiest city in the colony away from the direct British military rule for several years, and the fort's Liberty flag was shot off its staff, Sergeant William Jasper quickly retrieved the flag, tied it to a ramrod, and held it atop the ramparts amid heavy fire. And because of its importance as a critical turning point in the early days of the American Revolution, we, the Patriots of Georgetown, celebrate Carolina Day.